have a story to tell that would probably, take some of the mental chains off you. Work for me. But first, I had to play this video by Malcolm X. I'll come right back after it.
There are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. Mm-hmm. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. Mm-hmm. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, mm-hmm. economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, mm-hmm. who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
I mean, I had the luxury of seeing that same scenario play out right in front of me. I was watching two white men argue about who was better. Who was better, right? And that came up because I was at the beach. We're all at the beach. So I got a crowd of young men, young black men. They're trying to grow their hair. I'm telling them about the dreadlocks and stuff and the significance of, the sacredness of hair and things like that. Fashion versus function. And I'm talking to them all about that, how to correct their dreadlocks so they was breaking off, and I'm doing all this stuff. And I had the attention of about, 13, 14 something men who sat there. So they were watching me. And the conservative guy was like, hey, what were y'all over there talking about? I mean, you're not to be in your business. But I'm saying you had, he was just my leadership he was looking at. I went to tell him about this, exactly what I told you, things like that. And he noticed I had a registered logo and things. He was like, oh, man, well, you really got it going on, blah, blah, blah. So another guy comes by, we're talking. And, he was looking at me, so made eye contact. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, hey, how are you? And he comes over. So they were talking about the election and things like that. And one guy said, oh, I'm a liberal. I don't do none of that stuff, And they were going back and forth about the policies and, all this stuff. And I was taught to reject no knowledge. So I'm sitting up here, I'm soaking shit up like a sponge, you know what I mean? Ring out the bullshit. I'm just listening to them go back and forth. Well, go back and forth. And the conservative guy told the liberal guy, he said, you're the problem. You're a problem for him. And he pointed to me. He goes, no way, I'm liberal. And he said, yeah, so that's why that's why you get in front of him and make these organizations and take all this money. You get $5 million and turn around and give them, on the resource just a $1 million. He said, you're living off of them. And the next thing he said, he turned to me, and the conservative guy turns to me and he says, you know what? He said, you'll never get anywhere dealing with people like him. He's going to get in your way every time. He said, I've seen how you had control of those guys and stuff like that. He said, he'll come over and try to start an organization so he could be the head and then get all the funds and take them for you when you should be getting them. And they're going back and forth about who's wrong and who's racist. That was funny. And I was just sitting like, this is crazy. And I thank the Lord that let me see this because, I've got so much information. And the conservative guy, Mr. Warren and I are still friends. Still talk every once in a while because he wants to see. He gave me so much game over the course of 3 days, and he was just giving it to me. We were having intellectual battles and stuff like that. I would say, I want to do this. He said, that's not going to work. You're not allowed to do that. And I was like, how the fuck you ain't? And he was telling me, he was like, you're not allowed to do that. Like you said, when they say black jobs, he was like, you're supposed to, buy stuff. We manufacture it, you buy it. I had a little business at the time. He was like, how black is it when you had everything you buy from, He said, how black is it when everything you buy comes from a white person? And I'm just saying, like, man, he is giving me so much power with this knowledge. Because you got, put some in the comments that black people manufacture. Thank you for watching. I don't want to make anybody mad. You're supposed to think. This is supposed to make you think. This is food for thought. Cat Daddy Cafe. You understand? I'm gonna come up with the next video about why Africa's so poor.